Hello, friends. Today is Tuesday, the 20th of September. My name is Leslie, and this is Leslie's Cancer Confessions. Today, I want to talk to you about depression, and I want you to know up front that depression is not something that you ever need to be ashamed of having or feeling. It is something that everybody has at one point or another within their lives. If you have or know someone who has metastatic breast cancer, chances are that, especially at the beginning of their diagnosis, they will be experiencing some soul-leveling depression. Then there will be acceptance, and throughout the course of their treatment, they will periodically visit that land, that one-man land of depression. It is something that needs to be faced and dealt with, and after living with metastatic breast cancer for the past 5 years, I have finally reached a point in my life where I've decided that I need to speak with someone. Now, you should know, and if you followed me for any length of time in my previous blogger life as Leslie's Beautiful Life, which is still floating out there in YouTube land, and I periodically upload videos to share beautiful things that happen in my life. I've shared on that channel previously that I suffer from situational anxiety, and that is something that I have dealt with, that I have used medication for, that I have shared with family and friends, ways that they can help me through those situations. And I've talked a lot, blogged a lot, journaled a lot, prayed a lot, and worked through ways to manage my situational anxiety. But now that I have cancer, anxiety is with me more than 50% of the time. As situations change and grow and progress, I find myself anxious a good portion of the time. I do have people who love me that I can talk with about my situation. Of course, my spouse, Mo, he knows a lot about cancer as a person who lives with chronic lymphocytic leukemia and has been with me through my initial diagnosis of carcinoma in situ, which is, at that point, it was stage 2 breast cancer. He went through my surgery, my chemo, and my radiation, and my diagnosis of being in remission. At the 10-year mark, he went through me finding out that I had, in fact, had a reoccurrence and that it had metastasized. Now, granted, I had lived 2 years up to my diagnosis living as a person who'd been diagnosed with possible lupus or some autoimmune sort of situation. Come to find out that I had been misdiagnosed and that all of the symptoms that fit what I was being treated for also were symptoms of metastatic breast cancer. So my husband has been through a lot with me, and I share quite a bit of what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, I have something itching my eye. What I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what frustrates me. But that's a lot of burden to put on another person, especially daily. And I have a lovely daughter who lives with us, and she has been living with cancer in her family since she was about 8 years old. and grew up very quickly, and she's a super mature young lady. I have a son who also, was exposed to this at a really young age. Point that I'm trying to get to is it is time for me to find a third-party person to listen to me, to advise me, and counsel me in this living with terminal cancer. It has become harder and harder to live with metastatic breast cancer in the past several years as I've become more and more involved in online support with other men and women who have metastatic cancer, as I've reached out to and be reached out to, in addition, as people have contacted me and shared their stories of metastatic cancers and other forms of terminal cancer other than just breast cancer that has metastasized, is become quite burdensome. In just this year alone, I have had 5 friends or people that I have befriended die. It's becoming harder and harder to decide that you want to get to know somebody because you know that they will possibly leave your life forever, and it's painful each time you get to know somebody and have to watch them become sicker and sicker, and then to lose them. And also to know in the face of that, that is quite possible you are being that person for someone else as well. It's getting hard to deal with that. I am having a lot more anxiety and stress, problems sleeping. I've gained quite a bit of weight due to the letrozole that I take, and being heavy is something I have never enjoyed. I've always, up until my cancer diagnosis, been a very active woman who ran 5 miles a day, did yoga, lifted weights, did kickboxing, and now I do none of those except for occasionally doing yoga to help stretch. At any rate, the point of this video is to encourage you to not wait as long as I have to reach out and ask for help. Even if you're not feeling depression or anxiety, it is really good to ask your oncologist to connect you with somebody who specializes in talking to and listening to people who have terminal cancer. There are psychiatrists who specialize in that, and I have asked my doctor to connect me with someone, and I've reached out to them today, and I'm in the process of setting up and making arrangements to meet with them and to share my burden. Now, it isn't something I'm saying you need to do, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form judging you or saying that needing to talk to somebody is a weakness. But in my determination, it's very difficult to find a support group for metastatic breast cancer. Most support groups are for people who just have been diagnosed with breast cancer, and I don't mean to minimize breast cancer by using the word just have been diagnosed with. By saying just, I'm just trying to let you know that these patients have a end date. They know that they're going to receive surgery. Yes, that's painful, and psychologically you have a lot to deal with when you have a chunk of your body being removed. they also have chemotherapy, which is physically and emotionally taxing, and also radiation is very emotionally taxing. But they have a date. They know from the beginning, this will be over on this date, and my body can then begin to heal and recover. Now, 30% of those men and women who have metastatic breast cancer, or rather breast cancer, will then be told in the future that it has metastasized and they now have a lifelong terminal illness. But 70% of those men and women will go on to just live full and happy lives, barring anything like divorce, moves, deaths in their own family, just normal living with life occurrences. Their physical health from cancer, it's just 70% of them will go on to live full lives. At any rate, the point I'm trying to get to is, regardless of whether you have breast cancer or metastatic breast cancer, the group of people with metastatic breast cancer are not apt to find support groups that openly embrace having them, because nobody who is living knowing that they have an end date to their treatment and can move on with their life as if cancer is gone for good wants to be faced with somebody who is dying. So not a lot of support groups are openly encouraging to women who have what I have. I had a really, really hard time finding a support group. I did find a support group once my friend Pam was diagnosed with breast cancer. She invited me to her breast cancer support group, and I went, and the women were lovely and welcoming, and lived locally, and I was only there a short time before I moved to Tennessee. Once in Tennessee, I tried to find a group there and really felt shut out, not welcome, and it was frustrating, disappointing, and very sad and isolating. So now I am at the point where I am seeking to get help from a therapist who specializes in communicating with terminally ill patients. And I've made that call and left my information with them. And I will let you know as I go through the process what I think about it, how I feel about it, what sort of encouraging lessons I am learning, if there is any medication changes. I currently take medication for anxiety. I also take medication to help me sleep at night. As you well know, if you followed me for any length of time, I also take medication for pain. And, it's all up in the air if they want to make any changes, as long as they're changes that will improve my quality of life. I am all for that. So that was the topic of discussion, dealing with anxiety and depression, what I plan to do about it, and how I'm going to connect with you as I go through the process. So that is all for today. I thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to this blog, welcome. If you've been here for a while, thank you for sticking with me. It's been a long time. I've been blogging for over 7 years, doing Leslie's Beautiful Life and Leslie's Cancer Confessions, and that's a lot of sharing on the interwebs. So thank you so much for sticking with me if you have, and thank you for stopping by if you're new. Please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up if the content is in any way interesting to you. If there's somebody that you think would value the information on this video, you're going to hear puppy barks. Please share the video with them. Give it a thumbs up, like, follow, subscribe. You can find further content at lesliescancerconfessions.com. And have a great week. Bye.